You're not taking the video, are you?
On behalf of the petitioner, Annex Development. We have a property owner here who's going to say a few words, and I will speak, and then Mr. Treat, who's prepared the fiscal plan, will speak as well. Kind of reiterate what we said in previous meetings, the purpose of our petition is annexation only. We will not put before this council a petition for a rezone or a petition for a subdivision. So the concerns for purposes of this public hearing should be limited to the annexation, not rezoning or subdividing the property. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. David Morris to say a few words.
Hi, I'm David Morris, the son of Jane Baker, the Baker Farm, which is the area in question for annexation.
Doctor, would you please give us your address?
1550 Red Sunset Drive, Brownsville, Indiana, 46112.
Thank you.
I thank you for letting me be here this evening. I understand, as a community, the concerns of change and development in the community. I grew up in a small town. I currently live in a small town. I understand the value and the community and the family values that are instilled upon a place like Dayton, Indiana. We feel that the development that's being proposed by Greg Malakis is a benefit to the community of Dayton. I'm sure many of you saw the letter I wrote, which was on the Facebook site, also published in Journal and Courier. That letter came from the heart. We are 6 generations in Dayton on the mother's side, 5 generations on my father's side. My great-great-grandparents settled in this area. We have deep roots here. Although I haven't physically lived here myself, I've been out on the farm many times with my mother. We care what happens to the Dayton community. We care about the future for Dayton and feel that this development will bring a sense of new development, new homes, new hope for Dayton, without destroying the charm of the community. I currently live in a development in Brownsburg, not very dissimilar to what we're talking about now. The area where I live was tillable farmland. Around it was horse farms. Back in 2000, the developer by Cranville decided that they wanted to develop the homes, 80 of them. There's a county road that runs in front. Of course, the people along there were concerned about what was being developed and the volume of homes that were being developed. Today, those are the people who are enjoying some of the benefits of our neighborhood. Nora, a retiree, rides her bike almost daily in our neighborhood because she can't ride it along the county road because of traffic. She has a place to ride her bike. Jenny across the street brings her kids over to fish in the pond that's in our neighborhood, or to play in the playground that's in our neighborhood. So instead of being an adversary to the area, we become a benefit, which the fellow neighbors have learned to enjoy as well. So I hope you take into consideration that we do care about the community, the development, and feel that what has been proposed is a wonderful, lovely project that won't take away from Dayton, won't take away from the charm, and we don't want that to happen. We want to continue to add to the charm and to the future growth and the future heritage of Dayton, which our family has enjoyed for 6 generations, and we hope that new families can come to Dayton and have generations that can call Dayton and the Dayton community their home. Thank you.
So we're in the first of a three-step process. The first obviously being the annexation, the second would be petition for rezone, and the third would be a subdivision. I've heard a lot so far that want Dayton to take control of its future. And the way to do that would be annexation. If I were you, I would want to annex every bit of undeveloped property surrounding your town. The reason for that is that gives you a say in how it's developed and what happens on that property. Assuming the annexation is approved, the next step would be the petition for a rezone. That would start with the Area Plan Commission and then come back to this council for a vote. If the annexation doesn't go through and somebody wanted to rezone this property, they go through the Area Plan Commission and then they go to the county commissioners. They wouldn't have to come for you for your vote or your input. Following the rezone would be a subdivision. That goes to the Area Plan Commission. It's ultimately up to their decision. However, during that process, there's a minor sketch process and a final detailed plan that's approved. And within that process, there are checkpoint agencies that have a seat at the table, have an opportunity to give their input and concerns regarding the subdivision. If this property is annexed into the town of Dayton, town council is one of those checkpoint agencies. If the annexation is not approved, the town of Dayton is not a checkpoint agency. So again, this process that we're starting with by annexing gives the town a say moving forward. If the annexation is not approved, the town has no say. Additionally, I've heard that if this annexation is approved, the Dayton residents can expect a tax increase. I'm not sure where they got that. The fiscal plan certainly does not say that the town residents can expect a tax increase. Mr. Treat is here and can speak to that in more detail. On We Are Dayton 2 website, there's a 32-minute interview with our county auditor that is extremely informative. And to summarize his interview, he also states that there's not going to be an increase in taxes as a result of the annexation. Secondly, I've heard that Dayton Elementary School is going to be overcrowded if the annexation is approved. I've personally talked to the superintendent, and back in 2012, that they were at their highest enrollment, which was 540 students. Currently, they're around 400. So assuming overnight if 110 houses were to go in, which they won't, and each household had one elementary age student or child, they'd still be 30 students less than what their highest enrollment was back 5 years ago. So overcrowding shouldn't be an issue. Thirdly, I heard what happens if the annexation is approved and there's no subdivision. Again, all we're doing tonight, and not voting on it tonight, but in the future you'll be voting on whether to approve the annexation, you'll be annexing 55 acres of farmland, period. You're not voting to approve 110 houses or a subdivision or a rezone. All you're doing is annexing 55 acres of farmland. And if for whatever reason the subdivision wouldn't happen, you would have no costs associated with that annexation because there aren't any residences on the 55 acres. If anything, you'd add, I believe the property was assessed at $79,000, you'd be adding to your assessment without increasing your costs. So that would be the result of annexation without approving the next steps. And finally, we've heard concerns about density and those issues. Those are issues that will be addressed with the subdivision process. Utilities and extensions of those will be addressed during that process as well. Those hearings are to come. Following tonight's meeting, we have another meeting to vote on adoption of the fiscal plan, and then another one to vote on adoption of the annexation ordinance, which will be approving the annexation. Following that, you're going to have 2 more meetings with the rezone process and 2 more meetings with the subdivision process. So we've got a total of 4 meetings beyond the annexation to consider those issues, but they're irrelevant for purposes of annexation. So if we're wanting to control Dayton's future, to deny the annexation, you're essentially putting the decision-making power for what happens with this property in the future in the hands of people who aren't in this room. So it's a no-brainer to me and should be the least controversial step in this process to approve the annexation. So with that, I'd like to have Jim Treat come up and he can speak about the fiscal plan.
Good evening, I'm Jim Tree, partner at Bowden and Cohen Associates. We're a financial advisory firm that was retained in order to prepare the required fiscal plan. I believe you received it about a month ago. I'm not going to try to go through it in any great detail. I'm sure you guys have been through it. And let me just say, just from a broad brush standpoint, the purpose of the fiscal plan from a financial standpoint is to identify what the costs we think might be, best we can estimate them, to provide the same level of services that we currently provide in town now to this area with Annex and develop. I mean, we've gone a couple steps further because, as Ryan said, just annexing it really doesn't cost you anything. You just say it's bare ground, there's nothing there, there's no cost, that's it. So we have tried to address the issue of if it goes forward with a subdivision or a project similar to what has been discussed here and what will come in the future meetings, you know, how might that affect the town's budget? How might it affect the residents in Dayton currently? And that is all summarized in our fiscal plan. And I'll just touch on a couple of things. And I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with how property taxes work. It's kind of an odd system, to say the least. But what we've done here is we've done a multi-year projection. We've looked at a fairly modest growth level of homes, only 15 a year, starting in year 2 after the infrastructure is done. And what you do when you're looking at these property taxes is you're trying to balance what's the increase in the town's property tax levy, that's the amount of revenue they're getting and they can spend versus the tax base that's generated. So there's a separate control over those levies amounts. Currently the town's levy for property tax is about $250,000. So that is generated with about a 50 cent per $100 of assessed value of property taxes. And so everybody in the state starts at the same place. You get about 3.5% to 4% levy increase every year. So if your tax base or your AV for your town increases about 3.5% to 4%, it's neutral. The tax rates stay the same, and the revenue increases with that at that rate. So what we're looking at here, and you can see the analysis in the schedules that I've provided, is you're going to see an increase, a growth rate of at least double that, and that's with a very, in your assessed value, I mean, somewhere more like 7 or 8%, even with a fairly modest growth rate of 15%. So what that's going to do is it's automatically going to put pressure on your tax rate. You're going to generate more revenues, but you're going to have a much bigger tax base to do it. So that is going to keep the tax rates down, which will also favorably impact the current residents, at least from a fiscal standpoint, and that's all I'm addressing right here. So I think what we're showing here is that it can clearly be paid for. There are fairly minimal cost increases, which are also summarized here from my discussions with the folks that provide those services. Biggest being public safety, police and fire services. But as I've shown in here, the revenue sources are far and above what would be required to cover those increases. And I think what you'll find is you'll probably get some ability to do some things to enhance services within the town. And again, still having property tax decreases. The model we've shown here has a very modest decrease of 5 cents with a pretty significant increase in your property tax revenues. And you also get other revenues I want to mention of MPH and LRS distribution increase, because those are based on road miles, and potentially you get a mile of road miles. And there are some of those distributions are also based on per capita or population, which this over time will add population. So that will all also have a favorable impact. And so I think that's the main thing we want to do, is make sure people understand that it's not going to have a negative impact on them in town, and in fact will benefit because it will be a larger tax base to lower that per $100 of tax rate. And with that, I'll just wrap up my portion, and unless there's council questions.
Anybody from the council have any questions?
In your report, you need to see,
The town board, if they have any.
in your report,
Right, the locals' water and sewer infrastructure are always the responsibility of the developer. There will be costs to extend the water and sewer lines to the development, and that's something that is yet to be negotiated. I mean, you're not, let me put it to this way, Councilman, we're not, by approving this fiscal plan, you're not permitting the town to pay for those extensions. If this development is going to happen, that extension has to happen, so an agreement that everybody's comfortable with will have to be reached to fund those. Now, there's fairly significant costs or charges up front that the developer will be contributing, and I don't know if that will be in or not, but it's not known at this point, so I'm not able to do that, but water and sewer will need to be offered, and it will need to be extended at a worst case by the developer if they're going to proceed with this development.
You gave us a fiscal report, pluses and minuses, a lot of pluses.
Would you talk into the mic, please?
You gave us a fiscal report that had a lot of pluses and minuses, and you're standing there sort of saying pluses, but yet not one word is, it might be a big negative that the town has to incur that expense, which has to be decided on, because there's a lot of townspeople, council members, that think the town ought to be paid for it, there's people who think the church ought to be paid for it, there's people who think the developers ought to pay for it. So how can you don't have a complete fiscal report?
Well, that's not something that's decided at this point, Ron. And what I'm saying is that the town council is not obligated to do that. If that's not something you want to do in the future, that's what I'm addressing as obligations of the town. This is not a definitive obligation of the town. If the town decides, or the church or whoever having discussions on the road that they do not want to and can't afford to do this, then it's up to the developer to say if it makes sense for us to do it and develop this land or it doesn't. That's what it boils down to.
That extension of water and sewer would be a required item to be addressed during the subdivision process. So again, that's an item that will have to be addressed, but like Mr. Treat said, it's not addressed at this stage. Stage one, and that's probably stage 3, if that would be agreed upon. So voting in favor of the annexation doesn't obligate the town by any means to pay for that extension. So with that, we'd be open to comment or questions of the council. We have the developers here as well as engineer and Mr. Treat as well. If you have any questions, otherwise we'll turn it over to the council to proceed with the meeting how we'd like to from this point.
Please talk into the mics.
Okay. The reason I'm asking these questions, and the reason to make a decision on the annexation, we need all the facts and figures. And remember, this annexation in January and February of this year, we were not doing an annexation. The meeting at the church was for a rezone. You guys, me and Peter, the whole organization, for the last year, wanted and really emphasized that you needed to do a rezone first with the approval of the water and sewage. You get your rezone, and then you do your annexation last. And you do all your give and take, and who's going to pay this, and who's going to pay that, what's going to happen across the road, what's going to happen on this property, all the pluses and minuses. And then you decide, okay, well, you decide on those agreements, and you rezone it, and then you look at all the pluses and minuses and do the annexation. And you guys flip it, and you're doing the annexation first, and when townspeople, when the lot of unanswered questions that I personally don't want to annex something without knowing what's going to happen on this question.
Is that
I know there's
I'm still waiting on the question.
I know there's a process you go down to fight it, the rezoning and everything, but I think that's extremely hard once the annexation is done. And the people downtown and a lot of the authorities that I get say that if you do that annexation first, it's almost impossible to stop the rezoning and the stuff that follows that. You should get all your ducks in a row, you should get everything. We don't even know for sure, they have not considered that way on how many houses they're going to build versus other people. There's a letter coming from the Builders Association that now apparently they're going to build most of these houses. At first, you guys were talking about what you do on one side of the road, what's going to happen on the other side of the road. Now there's no mention about the other side of the road at all. And I think that's a big impact. It's not just, to me, this one field you can live with, but it's what happens and what it ripples on down the road to the 400 other houses or the 9,800 other acres. So there's a lot of stuff that's unanswered. You know, this annexation just came up 2.5 months ago. And we don't have a comprehensive report. We have a fiscal report. The townspeople have been asking for a comprehensive report, like a lot of towns do, and plan our growth. What do we want on past this development? What do we want on the side of the development? How will that affect the north end of town, the south end of town? So,
Did you have
I
a
just
question, or did you have a question?
well, the question is, why is the annexation first when you guys proposed it shouldn't be first for a long, long time?
And I talked to Dan Teeter since our last meeting when you brought that up. The two options were to annex first, which gives you the say-so in the rezone and the subdivision process, or do a waiver of annexation, go ahead and do the rezone and the subdivision, and then the town agree to extend utilities. The problem with that, and you were the one that wanted, the town was the one that wanted to do it this way, so I don't understand where you're coming from that we flipped it. But let me finish. The reason for doing it in this order, again, is to give you the say-so.
Why would you keep saying give us a say-so if you can't do anything without water and sewage? The builder has to go through the county, if they don't have water and sewage. The county automatically won't let you build anything under 8 lots. So therefore, that appeases a lot of the townspeople that want larger lots. The control is there, Lafayette cannot give these guys water and sewage, cannot bypass us. So we have control of the fact that they can't build these lots without water and sewage. And if it goes to the county, then it's got to be large lots, and more like, well, I call it rural development, because the technicality, it's got to have so many trees on the property, but like Petition Drive, you have more communities like down at Petition Drive in that neighborhood. So we do have controls. We're not left out in the air.
You're not voting on the rezone, or you have no say in the subdivision process, you're not a checkpoint agency.
But you just brought it up, we lost control, we don't do this annexation. And if we did lose control on the annexation, why 10, 11 years ago, William Gore's family was willing to sell it to a developer that was doing 150 houses. Apparently they didn't care 12 years ago how many more houses there were. Why were we doing the rezoning first step, and why weren't we doing the annexation? That was the proper way to do it.
Well, if that's what they were doing 12 years ago, they were doing a waiver of annexation, which is again, one of the options, but we were told that's not the way the town wanted to proceed. Mr. Kohler may have wanted it to be done particularly, but the council in the town wanted it the way
Dan Peter, sir, I asked Dan Peter, it's in the minutes, about what he would do, and I got it even further, that he said we would not do without the approval or the subdivision and the rezoning, we would not do an annexation. I said, why would we do it? Why would we do it? We spend all that money, but that's what we were
because I think the confusion is just not the knowledge of what actually you're saying.
The annexation makes the property a part of the town. So when you go to rezone, you go to area plan and then to the town council. The waiver of annexation is just saying, we'll provide you with the utilities you want, and we're not gonna make your property a part of the town. So since it's part of the county, when you go to rezone and you go through the subdivision process, they never have to come back to the council for any vote, for any approval. So that's the difference between what we're doing here and just doing a waiver of annexation.
Why would we compare it back to the council, because there's less houses and that's what people want?
Again, is it what you want or what the town council wants? Well, I'm sure the town council would love to vote on a rezone.
It's what 300 some people that I talked to want, like constituents. You know, no, it's not just what I'll vote for this thing, that's what they want.
Yes.
We
We know that we're open to further questions, otherwise we'll turn it back over to the council to proceed with public comment.
All right, now we'll proceed with the residents. We'll start with people against, then we'll go to people for. You have that figure?
In order to have an orderly meeting here, what we would like to see happen is you come forward, you stand and are recognized by the council president. And he recognizes you, then come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. This is being recorded. And unless you're recognized, to come to the podium, you are not going to be permitted to speak. Speaking from the crowd, extraneous comments from out in there will not be accepted by the board as appropriate ways to present evidence here tonight. You must present your evidence from the podium. In order that this matter be conducted in an orderly fashion, each person speaking will be asked to speak on things that are new to the issue. They will be asked not to speak longer than 5 minutes. Someplace Marshall has his telephone with one of those fancy stopwatches in it. And when you get 5 minutes, he's going to let the phone tell us that your time's up. And then the next person will be accepted to the podium. And if you have documents of one kind or another, present those to the clerk treasurer. They will become a matter of record. They become property of the town. Please, if you've got a cell phone, everybody except the marshal, don't have them turned off during the meeting while we're doing it. If you have to make a call, please let us know to do that. Those are the general ground rules of what we have here this evening. And first person who waves and gets your attention, you will be authorized to go to the podium.
Hello, thank you guys for meeting. My name is Cinderella Shockey, and I reside at 708 Walnut Street, right here in Dayton. I'm not really speaking for or against the subdivision. I guess we've all gotten tons of information from everybody about this, like the whole town. Tons of information. There's people who don't want it, there's people who want it. There's just tons of information going around, and I guess everybody kind of looks at it from their perspective. Is it going to be good for me? Is it going to be bad for me? You know, I'm speaking from my perspective. To quote, you know, an Indiana boy, John Mellencamp, there's a guy with an interstate running through his front yard, and he thinks he's got it so good. I'm concerned about the traffic. Can't deny that to you. It's not the homes, it's not the people, it's not, I'm against growth, it's none of that. That road is, and I know some of you drive on it or whatever, but I'm there 24/7 on that road. know that I worry about that, worry about kids. I worry about the more kids that are gonna come with subdivision, and more cars, more traffic, more kids on bikes. And how much more we're gonna create of a speedway through the town. That worries me. Other people are worried about other things, based on where they live in the town. But probably the only thing I really wanted to say tonight is that, all of you really are what you're elected to do, and I know these meetings aren't fun for you either, to come here and sit all night and listen to all this in your neighborhood, but you're here to represent us, right, as townspeople. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, is to try to do the best thing for all of us as a group. I don't care if my property taxes go down $44 a year. If it saves me 1,000 car drives a day past my house, that's relative to me. I'd rather pay the $44 than to have 1,000 more trips going in front of my house and people coming through at 3 o'clock in the morning on the horns. That's from my perspective. But I guess what I'm seeing and hearing, and I've seen a lot of people just really get neighbors that really, it's caused a lot of friction between people over something that really should be about all of us. We shouldn't be arguing about it. We shouldn't be, well, you're on that side and I'm on this side. I'm expecting all of you, I guess. We've gotten so much information, I guess I feel like we should all have this. I'm not sure that any board right now, with everything that's been thrown out there, could say, well, this is the best for everybody that we're representing. How can we do that? There's been so much negative and then so much positive, and then you hear this and then you hear that, and who knows? Who knows if it's the best thing? How do you know? How do you know if you're making the right long-term decision for somewhere? So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know what it would cost the town to put on a vote, but maybe you should let the citizens vote. Maybe it should be up to all of us, because you are representing us. And if the majority votes for it, and that's what they want, then that's what I'll live with. Because this is my community. I've been here 26 years, and that's the way it's going to be. I mean, we live in America, and it's a democracy. But I just don't know that this board, at this point, with all the conflict that we've had, I don't know that anybody, I wouldn't want to be sitting in your shoes and trying to make the right decision on which way to go in this town to make everybody happy, or at least the majority of people happy. So I guess that's what I'm asking for, is maybe we need to rethink this and really think about finding out exactly what. If it's not a vote, finding some way to exactly find out what the homeowners say. Instead of just coming here and having a meeting and some people get mad at the other side. And then everybody just goes their separate ways and says, well, I want it and I don't. We need to figure out really what the majority wants. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Al Beavers, 758 Main Street. I'm just going to read from text. I haven't had time to memorize anything. 110 homes on 55 acres. Considering the terrain of those 55 acres, it appears 5 of those would not even be usable for housing, even less when we have ponds. But a few homes in store for this town's planned lifestyle is not a good model. The town of Dayton is not like the city of Lafayette or West Lafayette. There is no reason for us to think we need to build homes like there's a housing shortage. Would any of you agree that we see ourselves as more open and laid back than our city neighbors? The developers have already shown us 110 homes drawn for the site. I would ask before you dig that first basement, to take a pen to the books and drafting table and show a plan with 50 homes on this acre. Remember, this was the original premise, that started the annexation proposal. Many of us had in mind a greater vision. The builders would be constructing master homes with room for approved amenities. The spatial layout would also eliminate the need for ponds that can harbor mosquitoes, allow ground saturation, and not pose a hazard for children. Even sidewalks could be absent. This could be the beginning of a greater fine development to come for Dayton. We hope that all investors, developers, and builders would see themselves setting higher benchmarks that reflected how Dayton would see itself, not as a convenience to pacify a mere copy of housing on the other side of the interstate. Consider letting the residents and others affected collectively help the council decide the quality of the town's growth. What we decide for the future becomes a past for which we must live. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking against?
Go ahead.
My name is Mike Davis, 78 South Street, Dayton. First of all, the last business meeting, I kind of made my, point on this. I'm against this whole thing, and it's just because, one of the main reasons is because it all comes down to my personal, for me personally, and everybody has their own personal opinion of what a small town is. Deerfield added 180 plus houses to this town. We're going to add 110 more, who knows how many hundreds and more possibly on the other subdivisions. So this town, the original size of this town back 20 years ago, if all this goes through, we could be looking at 3 times the amount this town was originally done. To me, that's not a small town anymore. Now, the gentleman from Brownsburg spoke about a small town and all that. And like I said, that's up to his interpretation. I looked it up a while ago when he brought that up because I was curious about what the census is for Brownsburg compared to Dayton. And in 2014, the census was around 22,000 people in Brownsburg. We're at like 1,500. So there's two variations of what your opinion of a small town is and what everybody else is. Now everybody else could be completely different from me, but that's just my personal opinion. So that's my biggest reason right there. And I don't see much, those lots are, some of them are pretty huge, but I don't really see anything in there about a park. Is there anything there about a park? And he mentioned the park for the kids, and that'd be great, but I totally agree with, riding the bikes and all that, be safe and everything, that'd be all right, but I don't see anything in there about a park or nothing. And then also, I'm trying to figure these numbers out here. This total revenue increase, $48,553 per year. That's by the year 2021. So it's not like here pretty soon it's going to happen. A few years down the road. If we're looking at just trying to raise tax money, and I said this before at a town meeting, and I'll probably get hitting back ahead, but if we're just trying to raise $48,000 a year in tax money, we could do that ourselves just by increasing our tax rate. I mean, there's 500 and some homes in Dayton. You figure out per month how many that is. It's not a lot of money, really. Figure 500 homes, 12 months, it's like 6,000. So what you're looking at? $10 a month. And you got 60 grand. Now, I'm sure there's little things here and there that I don't know, but I'm just rough figures. And you're looking at 48. I just don't see, I think we should just take care of ourselves instead of making this thing huge. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking against?
Linda Bell, 255 Prairie Lane. Before I make a comment, I have a question. When you was talking about the monies, the minuses, and where does that money come from if it ends up being on the Dayton residents and the town? Where does that money come from? To run water lines or whatever it is that we need to be running out there? Well, when you was talking, when Ron brought up the thing about the pluses and the minuses, and these guys have talked about all the pluses, but then he said, where's the money, talked about the minuses that aren't in that. And they haven't decided who's gonna pay for that, whether it's the church, whether it's the town, or whether it's them. If it is the town, where does that money come from? So that would possibly increase our water bill if they're gonna take money out of that water fund. Does that mean that that would increase our water bill?
The developer's paying several different fees to develop that land. So that may possibly be a source to participate in the water restriction. This is something that will be negotiated.
Right.
It has not happened yet.
Right, and that's what I was saying, if you guys negotiate and they say, we ain't paying for it, we want you guys to, which when I say you guys, that means us. And so, if you're gonna take out, that's a lot of money. If you take that out of your recovery fund, you gotta build that fund back up, which means I could be paying more water bill, and I don't wanna pay more water bill.
The developer, that land is developed, it's happening like this job. There are impact fees that the developer pays.
Would you speak into the mic, please?
As this land, should this land be developed, there are numerous fees that the developer pays, and that is included in the fiscal. If the town does pay a portion of a utility extension, those fees would more than offset whatever that cost may be. But again, this is something that will be negotiated at some point in time.
How do we know we don't even know what the fees are? The cost is to run it out there. How do we know what fees are? We have enough, I think it's going to be.
Mike, please.
I'm saying, we don't even know the cost of running water and sewage out there, so we don't know who's going to pay for it. We don't know where it's coming from.
That's what this one.
Yeah, and so you can't really, something that's be taken care of. It costs us a lot, but we can come out and have enough money to do it.
Well, that's why I wanted to make sure that there was a point made that since there is no dollar amount put on that, what it could be, and that should be part of the fiscal plan that was supposed to have been made, that I haven't seen, how much is it gonna cost to run, whether that bill is on you guys, on the church, or on these guys, there should be a dollar amount already set in place, so that we have at least, or an approximate cost, so then we kind of have an idea on what it's gonna cost. They have an idea, and you can't tell me that this is their first development, that they don't have an idea about how much this is gonna cost, so that we can have an idea on, even if it's split 3 ways, what that's gonna cost and where that's gonna impact me and everybody else in Dayton. And that's where, when people talked about the fiscal plan and wanting more information, that's some of the things that we needed to know and should be presented, and that should have been part of this meeting when you started, is here's the impact study. Not only it tells us how much the crime is going to increase, how much the traffic is going to increase, how it's going to affect the schools, what it's going to cost to put these in, and none of that was brought up. So there's a lot of information that people talk about, there's a lot of information out there, but it's not information, it's innuendos and speculations. I've not seen anything in writing that I can go up and say, can I have a copy of that, and let me read it for myself. Then if I have questions, I can come back and ask, what does this mean? I haven't seen it, and nobody's been able to tell me. And you get the people on one side that are dead set against it, that want to scream and yell. Then you got the other ones on the other side that don't want it, that want to scream and yell. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and they should have a right to voice it. But I still want information. I want to know whether this is going to be good or bad, because right now I see zero good for the town of Dayton. I moved down here. One of the main reasons why I moved down here is to get away from Lafayette, the crime, the traffic, the congestion. to be in a small community. And Mike did make a good point, it's relative term on what some people believe is small, what isn't. But I think the majority of people believe that this is a nice small town and would like to keep it that way. And I have to agree with Cinderella and the rest of them that said, and I don't know that vote is the right term, do a survey study, let the people speak. Make sure that when it's done and you 5 people get to make the choice on what's good for me and the other Dayton residents, that you're doing it with all the information from us.
Time's
Yes,
up.
that I'm for it.
Stan Tiger, 750 Shade Lane. This subdivision is proposed, designed for one thing, make them developers the most money they can get. It's not designed to enhance Dayton. And the size of houses they're proposing to build on it, you're going to have 12 feet between the houses. And people buying houses that size have things like boats, RVs, antique cars, hot rods. You can't get in the backyard where you're going to park these things. In the street, on the front, you're going to have covenants. You can't park nothing in front or on the street. So, this is not going to enhance Dayton. It's not going to, some people have big lots, you have outbuildings, you park your toys in it. You're not going to let the new people in Dayton do that? Let's make a community that people want to live in instead of a community that tells them everything they can't do. One last thing I have is I'd like the town residents of Dayton to stand up if they think 110 houses is too many. If you think 110 houses is too many, stand up and show the board how many people don't want 110. Thank you.
Who said the town resident? How many are not?
I don't know.
Mr. Tiger,
Yeah.
how big is your lot?
How big is my lot? Quarter acre, maybe, I don't know, half acre? 1 acre?
2,000 square feet.
I don't think it's 1 acre.
2/3 of it. 60,000 square feet.
And you pay that park cars and motorhomes all in yours, why couldn't these people use that?
They can't get in the backyard when the houses are 12 feet apart.
My big lots of 50 to 80 foot wide, it's a lot wider, it's got side access and everything like that.
Use the walkway.
But even at that, it's got a lot more walls.
Anybody else?
I haven't felt that much pain yet, because I just got sent. But I'll do it, so I'm kind of, hey, here's one.
My name's John Glover, I live on 6903 State Road 38 East. I've been here about 35 years. When I moved out here, Subaru in here, the gas station over here, it's 1 lane road. I moved out here because it was small and I liked it. And it's changed, it's changed, and it's changed. We put up a mud hole in front of my house for about 2 years while they fixed the road. That went okay after it was done, I guess. But the traffic out here is horrible. That's my main worry. We don't have enough roads for the traffic now. So, is there a way to improve that? Are you gonna helicopter cars in and out? I don't know what you're gonna do. The first young lady said it's so nice that I just wanted to let somebody know that then somebody said something about putting a light in. If you put a light in down here somewhere, it's gonna be packed up clear past the gas stations. And I know I'm back out there to pull out on that road all the time, you take your life in your hand sometimes. And I don't see that getting any better. It can only get worse. So, that's about all I have to say.
Josh Cox, 5435 South, 800 East. And you can probably tell by my address, I am not a Dayton resident, but I am affected. And I do, first off, want to say I can appreciate the position that the landowners are in, is they want to do with what they want to do with their land. And there's something to be said about that. I guess it could be worse. I could be coming before you asking to put in a confined hog feeding operation there, and so everybody gets to smell sweet hog manure. But the main concerns that I have here, I know that you can't slow up progress, and it gets to be a fine line there that we have to balance between development and keeping this town intact the way it is. And the traffic is one of my main concerns. Dayton Road at the intersection of Wyandotte, where it lies, is an extremely dangerous intersection. There's a blind hill on Dayton Road, just south of Bill Burkett's place, that is narrow. We farm down Dayton Road. We take large equipment up and down Dayton Road. We typically have to have an escort for our equipment. Now you add 600 to 1,000 cars. If each of these households has 3 cars and they go to and from work, there's going to be a lot of traffic, a lot of additional traffic. There probably should be some provisions made for, building the infrastructure for something like this before the houses go in. And as I sat in on the first meeting at the church, it seemed evident that this should go to a public vote with all the council. And, I made mention of that at the first meeting, and, I don't know what is keeping that from happening, but, we elect senators and congressmen, and they will send out surveys to their constituents to get their opinion on how they should vote. And that's what you, as board members, should be doing if you're truly trying to represent the town accurately. And maybe they will find everybody, more people want it. But how do you truly know if you don't? And this is a good start, I will admit, you have had several of these. So that's my 2 cents. Appreciate it.
What else did you get?
Cindy March, 749 Shady Lane. First, I'd like to say on the Dayton.in.gov website, there are ordinances, and we have an ordinance that says into the existing municipal system to and throughout the proposed development shall be the responsibility of the owner, development of the subdivision or addition. So I guess, and at his or her sole expense, so I guess what I'm asking is, why are we saying we'll negotiate? That's an ordinance we have. If we're going to do anything, it should be at their expense. I can say with confidence that the church will not be chipping in. And so why should the taxpayers of Dayton chip in when this is to benefit them? There's a lot of things I could say, but I think they've all been said before, so I won't repeat it. But one thing I would like to say to this nice young attorney and to these developers is that Ron Kohler is here representing those of us who feel like we don't have a voice. And I appreciate it if you show him a little respect for his voice.
Anybody else speaking again?
My name is Gordon Hardback, 7701 Adams Road. I belong to the community of Dayton. I live in town, my grandchildren go to school here. I do have a big concern because I own half the land to the east of this subdivision. I sat in the back where I can watch all the people, heckle people. Well, does he live in town? Does he, he's not a townsperson? How many people stood up? You know, we're all arguing over saying. The lady that spoke, which I didn't get her name, she said it best, and there were a lot of people that said things that really meant something. If we really want to do this, and you guys want to do what's best for the town, let the people have a say. You can either send things out in the mail, you can have a vote. There's all kinds of different things you can do. You know, these guys here to the right of me, they're in business. They're in business to lose money. They're in business to make money. And that, you know, that's fine, that's their business. One question I would have for the board, if this goes through and you annex this, what is the responsibility of the town board once you annex this to find out? The big concern that I see is who's going to pay from where the city utilities stopped and where their property will start, which basically I'm saying is the church. We all know what we're talking about here. What's the responsibility of the town board if you annex it and the church don't go into it? Does the town council want to pay for that, or should you think that the developer should pay for it? If they want it, they should pay for it. It shouldn't have to come out of these people's pockets, anybody's pockets. You know, and you know, just like now, I ask, what are the responsibilities once you annex it? Do you have to go through with the whole deal, whatever you got going? I mean, I don't know. I still think 110 houses is way too many. Because, you know, there's 55 acres, but when time you get down, you've got 30-some acres. It's all there, so now you're down to a third of an acre per lot or thereabouts. You know, give or take. That's, to me, that's way too many houses. Hey, it's right next to my property. I could go for 40 or 50 houses, but 110, I just think is way too many. That's all I got to say.
Anyone else speaking again?
Scott Swift, 216 Gerard Drive. I think the point tonight is, this plan is just a plan. We're talking about 55 acres that you want to annex. At the hearing, Monday, speak about control. I think the board needs to go ahead and annex this 55 acres and start looking around the rest of Dayton. Because Lafayette's coming this way. Drive out 38. Look at east of Lafayette, Park East Drive, which connects South Street to McCarty. Then there's Cornfield. But a lot of people don't know Park East picks back up on 200 South or Haggerty Lane where the FedEx building is. Lafayette's plan is Park East will be connected to 38 and then on to 52 or Sagamore. Drive down 38, Ivy Tech's expanding. They bought the trailer park, that's gone. Right past Riggs, for sale sign, there's the silos, for sale sign, all the way to Tractor Supply. Won't be long until the other side of Veterans will be for sale. The other side of 38, for sale. Mr. Fuller has been for sale. Haggerty Lane, they put another interest in SIA on the north side of Dayton. There's a warehouse going in there, and drive along Haggerty, for sale. It's coming this way. So we annex this now, and then you're in a position to negotiate. I don't have a problem with 110 houses. I'm not gonna buy one in there. Fine. You don't like it, don't buy it. You annex that, you're in the driver's seat. So you can tell the developers, if the board's at consensus, we don't like 110 houses. We like 90, we like 50, we like 40, whatever you want. They at that time make a business decision. Well, Dayton's not gonna play ball with us, and they pull up and they go. Simple as that. But that can't happen unless you annex it. And I would start thinking about annexing the north side of Dayton, and the other side of Dayton Road on the south, and out to Adams Road, and out to the east, maybe to the creek. Because growth is coming, nothing stays the same. When I was a kid, we used to buy eggs at the farmhouse where Lowe's is now. It changed, everything changes. So take control of our area, because everything's coming this way, whether we like it or not, it's coming. The second thing that I want to point, the point I want to make is to vote on this annexation. That's yours and yours alone. That's what we elected you to do. We're not a true democracy, we're a republic. The 5 of you have the best information available. Over the last 3 years, I've probably been to 75% of every board meeting, and I see the same 5 or 6 people there. An issue like this comes up, I see all kinds of people that live in town, out of town, and they come for one thing because this is affecting them. They can't tell you the first thing about our budget, about our police protection, about tax rates. But this stirs their passions, and I understand it. So when we say we want the public to vote, they don't have the information that we do. And that's why we elect you. There's 1,500 people roughly in Dayton, from memory about 522 registered voters. And behind me, how many citizens of Dayton are here tonight? 50. So maybe 50 of our 1,500 residents, or 522 registered voters, have good information. The rest of the public, they don't know. They just hear something. No, I don't like that because someone says it's going to increase traffic. Or someone says it's going to increase the population of the school. Or someone says it's going to increase my tax base. Well, those are facts that you know. So lastly, whatever decision that you make, either for this or against it, that's yours. And I will accept that because that's what I elected you to do. And if this board votes or individuals vote different than how I think we should, I will vote for you again. And I will do things that hopefully you won't get reelected. So I encourage you to take the annexation and negotiate lot sizes if that's what you want to do. And also start thinking about annexing other parts around town because the growth is coming this way. Drive down 38, drive down Haggerty, and you see it. Drive down 52. It's all coming, so let's
control the area around us. Guy, thank you.
Hello, I'm Jeanette Heiser. I live at 290 Conjunction Street, and I'm actually neither for or against, but I want to make a point that a few years ago we had some bad weather in Dayton, and we didn't have an operating outdoor warning system, and we rectified it. We bought one, and it's working, and hopefully it serves our community well. This annexation will put a lot more, if it's approved, will put a lot more area territory in our town. And so these nice gentlemen over here, I would hope, would make a note, please, that we would like to have, that my husband and I feel that it is important that we put in an outdoor warning system that would serve this area if it's annexed. And this gentleman, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name, Scott, has a very good point, because a lot of the territory that he's speaking of on 38 and down Hayward Road is designated to be industrially developed. And those of us who want to live in a small town, I can't imagine that that would be anything that would be worse than to have a great big industrial factory right on the outskirts of our town. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
What else speaks in favor?
I'm Dave Leininger, 764 Shady Lane. I'm a data guy. I'm a hard data guy. I'm a real numbers guy. For 30 years, I have served data services in companies whose names you would recognize in the financial and in the healthcare industries. We deal with hard numbers. And so when I hear people talk about the whole town, or I hear people talk about most of us, or I hear people talk about we all think, I look around and I look back for 2 months, 6 months, 9 months in the social media side and in the reading side, and I start to say, well, who are these people and how many of them really exist? And it turns out that there are 43 people who have ever posted pro or con regarding the annexation, the proposed annexation. And you go back and count it yourself, but you'll find there are 43 people who have made comments pro or con on several sites. That's several sites, not one. Now, it might be 45 or 48, but some of the comments get deleted by some folks over time, so maybe there were some that were made but then deleted, but it certainly isn't going to move from 43 to 143. And 43 is less than 10% of the registered voters, and far less than the 1,500 residents. So not everybody is complaining. Not everybody's at each other's throat. We don't have the whole town torn apart, guys and girls, because of some issue related to annexation. We have a few people who like to talk loudly about it, who like to be passionate about it, and that's a good thing. We should be passionate about it. And with that, I'd like to share a letter from my neighbor and friend, Ron Markle. He's unable to be here tonight, but quoting Ron, due to work obligations, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting. I would ask the council to please allow Dave Leininger to read a short letter on my behalf. Ron's words, I've been a business owner and resident of Dayton since 1999. I've also had the honor to serve the people of this town on the Dayton Town Council for 10 years, with most of you. I'm completely in favor, he says, of the proposed annexation of the 55 acres and the 110 home addition Baker Farms, what a great name, south of the Methodist Church, And while change is hard to endure, I feel, says Ron, that small growth is essential to the overall well-being of the town for both financial and social reasons. We've not had any development in our town for years, quite simply because the board took a stance that no development would be allowed unless it was R1 zoning. Other developments have been turned away in the past because they didn't meet this zoning requirement. Now, we have a developer that's willing to do R1 zoning at lot sizes that are, on average, 5,000 feet larger than what's required. That, says Ron, in my opinion, is a win-win. And so the addition of 110 homes will add tax dollars to our general funds, as Mr. Treaty's pointed out, miscellaneous revenue funds, and our utility company with no infrastructure cost to the town. I know several have talked about the extension. Mr. Treat points out in his how many page fiscal report that's easily available from several sources, the fees that would be paid by the developer to the town to hook up. And if you start to add those numbers up, that likely, I believe, is what a couple of council people have suggested, is far beyond what is necessary to move the extension across the church property, and is a proper way, as our clerk treasurer points out, to use the recovery fees that we gain from hooking on a new home. So that discussion should probably go away. But is this the big financial answer to the town, right, Ron? No, of course not. But with the additional income and continued monitoring of the budget by the clerk and the town council, I believe the town's budget will continue to move in the right direction. It's been well documented by the school superintendent, Dr. Hambeck, by the area plan commission, by our own marshal, and by the fire chief for the Sheffield Township Volunteer Fire Department, that an addition of this size will have little impact to our schools, to our traffic, and our safety concerns. Yeah, traffic on 38 is heavy. If you head out there when this guy gets off work to head home from SIA, there's a lot of traffic out there. I blame you, Mr. President. No. But there's a lot of traffic out there when the factories let out.
Time.
David, you actually have a letter.
I do.
Please give it.
Anyone else speaking in favor?
I'm Susan Yost Clausen. I live at 295 Conjunction Street. And I will say that my father, Kenneth Yost, was on the board for a good long time. I was not really involved during the last two annexations, but I did hear about it from him, and my impression was positive. According to the Bush family tradition recorded in DeHart's past and present, settlement began in the area that is now Dayton when William and Abigail Bush arrived in the fall of 1824. Local land records show they soon purchased two 80-acre plots in 1825 and 1826. When they sold a few pieces of land to friends and neighbors along Main East-West Road through the area, a town began to take shape. I suspect Bush would have been content to gaze out over the Wildcat Valley from his, and I quote, a comfortable log cabin on the brow of the hill, addition to the town, and with final name change to Dayton in 1831, the town was set. Other additions followed. While the next year, Dr. Horn was off to Illinois to start another town. In the summer of 1871, the first attempt was made to incorporate the town, and it failed. Finally, on the fourth try, about 100 years later, Dayton became an incorporated town in 1970. Since then, there have been two more additions. Both were controversial and unsettling to the folks already here. Change is hard. But John Swick reminded me that with these two additions, we were able to fund the water and sewage. We needed more patrons in order to get as much as water costs and interest costs. It would have been worse if we didn't have as many people in Dayton as we have. I believe the proposed Baker Farms will be a good investment for the town. I'm not a numbers person. My father was a certified engineer, but I'm not. After studying the impact study, however, provided by the town council, to the best of my understanding, the plans provided by the builders and the summaries of research on we are aiming to, I am in favor of annexation. True, the traffic on Dayton Road will increase, but the lanes that cows follow to get back to the barn are long gone. Tippecanoe County School Corporation has affirmed that they will redraw boundaries as needed to accommodate any additions to Dayton Elementary. Therefore, in my opinion, adding local children to the school will only encourage the school corporation to redraw the boundaries closer to Dayton. The addition is predicted to be revenue neutral by the impact study, and since most jurisdictions want to add to their tax base, it seems to me that adding 110 households can only have a positive outcome. The lots as described in the builder's materials when compared to my own lot are
Brian Keating, 2615 Salem Street, Lafayette. Well, it's been a while since I've been in front of this council, probably about 12 years ago. But I think you can pull back on the minutes where it was told to me that if I brought a development plan in that was all R1, we could approve no problem. And here we are 12 years later, the development plan is all R1, and it's 50% bigger than R1 lots, and we still have trouble getting it approved. So I'm not involved with this at all. This here is a listening to public opinion, and it's definitely an issue. So I don't understand exactly what's changed, and I mean, it sounds like this is an interesting predicament with the annexation. I mean, Mr. Kohler sounds a little bit like you don't understand the annexation process. I mean, right now you guys are trying to figure out if you want to annex. And annexing would give the town express control of what's going on. You would have to go to the county and then get you basically, it's all about water and sewer at that point. And that's what you're saying, is you don't want to do water and sewer, and that's going to stop it. Now, if, let's say that these gentlemen over here decide to put 3 or 4 pieces of acres together, they could go over there, put a sewage treatment plant together, and they could put a subdivision there and put 400 lots in, no problem. Yes, they could. Why couldn't they?
Well, I already checked downtown, they can have their
I guarantee they can put a sewage treatment plant in there. Absolutely. I'm 100% correct. I've done it in other places. My point is that you're trying to hold it up on a technicality, but you could put a individual treatment plant in there. I mean, they did it in Brembella on the south of the town. I did it in Bridge Mill subdivision, which was R1, waiting on a sewer extension from the city. It could be done. If you annex, then you eliminate that possibility because you have control. I think the annexing is a good idea. Some of the previous people were talking about traffic. Right now, you've got a 4.5 acre piece of ground down by the Masonic Lodge, it's owned R3. Somebody could come in there, build 60 or 70 apartments, you'd have 70 units, you're going to have a heck of a lot more traffic there than you're going to have out here with 110 houses. And you've got to think about the fate of some of the things that are going on. When I did it originally, we had 178 lots on there. Back in 2005 or 6, whatever year that was. We went down to 169. Now we're at 110. That's a lot better for the town. And really, I mean, all the people here, I understand they're concerned about the town. It's really not affecting most people in the town. You have 3 neighbors really on this thing. You've got the church and you. And then as you drive through town, that's the neighbors, right at this point. You have a farmer across the other direction. I mean, those are the people that are impacted every day. I mean, I really think that you've got some traffic as they turn in and go into town, you've got 10 or 12 houses that are going to drive by, but that's the case. On the sewer, in terms of the extension, you guys will figure that out. I mean, you're going to make them pay to bring in the sewer, or bring the sewer to their site. That's what every developer does, because that's how it works. That's not really an issue. I mean, you guys need to clarify the issues. You try to muddy the water on everything we do as a developer, and it makes it more complicated. And one day you put it very matter of factly, that she wants to know the whole story, and nobody wants to tell the whole story, and there's all this information out there that's false. And I agree with her, because I think everybody has their own thing, and there's all this information there. I mean, it's pretty matter of fact, when the developer pays all the fees, what's it going to cost the town? Ron, what's it going to cost the town?
Well, she brought it up that the developer pays all the fees, but in our last meetings, this board was saying we need to have a special committee to decide who does pay those fees, whether it be the town, the church, or the developers. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about annexation now, and there's a lot of questions. I'm not against the annexation. I'm mainly against the density of houses, but how can you make some of these decisions without having all the information, right? You ask for a committee that study who pays for one thing, the water and sewer extension out there. We haven't even formed that committee. So we don't even have that information to put in the fiscal report or for the board to.
But that has nothing to do with the fiscal report. Water and sewer has nothing to do with the fiscal report.
Well, it's got to do with what the town council should know, who's paying for it, before we make a decision. Right?
I mean, I guess in terms of annexation,
And there's, on whether to go ahead, we don't even know for sure what size this house.
I mean, if I were you guys, I'd be annexing as much as we could annex.
Time's up.
Thanks.
Anyone else think anybody?
I am Joe O'Gariel from 543 Favorite. Just from what I see, the question tonight is annexation. And yeah, I'm in favor of annexation. And the few meetings I've been to, everyone who has even been against everything has come up here and said, I am in favor of growth, controlled growth. The way to control this is by annexing the property and being in charge of it. When we had the meeting at the church, it was said that once that annexation happened, and before they went through with anything, all these different committees in the county had to be involved, and all these folks from around the community had their say, and then probably by the time they got done in these meetings, the number of homes would go down, and just all these other things would happen. Traffic concerns would come up as life went on and these houses were built and traffic increased. Those situations would be addressed, and that's what we have to look forward to. We have all these people in places to handle these things. And I'm happy that you guys are here, and once again, I'm in favor of annexation. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking in favor?
Gentlemen, 7315 Wesleyan Drive, Dayton. I too am in favor of this annexation, and I've spoken in front of this council before, saying that we have our own internal conversation about this regularly. But I do believe, and I really want to thank Scott because he said a lot of very important things. We will have better control. You will have better control as the town council voting on this decision because we've elected you to do that. You will have better control over this process. And several meetings ago, I urged that we make a decision and start moving forward, and I want to reiterate that. I think it's time. I think that the developers have been more than patient with us as a community. They've done the things we've asked them to do. We've talked about a variety of different things, going all the way back to last spring. They've accommodated those that they could. They've explained why they couldn't accommodate the others. I think that we have an excellent opportunity before some other community like Lafayette decides they want to move into what we consider to be our space and what we consider to be our quality of life and how we want to control that moving forward. Thank you.
My name is Stephanie Schreckengast. I do live in Lafayette, so I don't have any personal involvement in the development. I just wanted to speak on the men that are bringing this development to you. They're not out just to make money. They're honorable, great guys. Drive through their neighborhoods in Lafayette and see the quality of the house. I think you guys are under the assumption that they're going to be C.P. Morgan, and that is so far removed from what these gentlemen build that any house that they would build would be an asset to the city. So I just wanted to, if people don't know them, get to know these guys. They're great guys. And they will be, no matter what they build, they'll be an asset to Dayton.
Anyone else speaking in favor?
My name is Sheena Smeltz, and I have a long history in Dayton. I live in the outskirts of Sheffield Township, but my grandma lived right next to the school. My parents graduated from Dayton with a high school. I went to Dayton. My kids went to Dayton. And I consider Dayton our community, and I like everybody on board. I do. I also like everybody sitting to my right. I don't think you could actually ask for a better choice of professionals and builders than who we're sitting right next to, because I've seen, yes, I am a renter, I'm not going to lie, but that's not my focus here. But I will tell you my experience has been that they just build beautiful communities. And I personally don't see why that would be a negative here in this Dayton community. Because at this current time, and when my kids went to Dayton, we had a large percentage of the student body that did require assistance. Well, this actually could balance that out so we have a well-rounded community of kids and families that only, I guess, enhances each other. I'm not going to get involved in the number of lots because that's really not what I'm here to talk about. But what I would say group that wants to develop it might not offer as good of a situation as I think we're being offered right now.
Anyone else speaking in favor?
The Builders Association as well. And the Phoenix School Corporation. Sure. Okay. All right, so this first letter is from the Builders Association of Greater Lafayette to Dayton Town Council members. This letter is in support of the proposed Dayton Farm subdivision development within jurisdiction of Dayton on behalf of the Builders Association of Greater Lafayette. The Builders Association of Greater Lafayette is an association of builders, trades, vendors, and suppliers devoted to safe, decent homes constructed within our communities and the proposed Baker Farms achieve those goals. As an association of companies and individuals in the home building industry, we see this new home site as a vital contribution to meeting a family's desire to have a new home in a vibrant area. The lots to be developed will exceed the required R1 zoning average of 15,000 square feet with an 80-foot width and a 40-foot setback, allowing for usable family-friendly yards. Lots sales will be open to all approved builders in the area and not limited to a single builder, so that there are different styles, elevations, and materials used in the construction of houses and Baker Farms, making it a very desirable place to live. The development will be built to the requirements and restrictions set down by the community with standards that are above minimums seen in other towns around and built in sections, allowing houses to be absorbed into the school system with all being completed and adhered to. Homes with these standards and requirements will be in the value of $300,000, which is hardly a starter home and meets the needs of the family and wanting to move there. Quality lots are in critical supply in Canoe County, and there is a need for them in Dayton also. Baker Farms will enhance, not inhibit Dayton, and will allow friends and families to settle down here rather than having to consider moving elsewhere to live. Please consider supporting this development for our community.
That was to be signed by 11 people.
Don't do this yet. We have John and Melinda Person stated that they voted in favor of the annexation. The next one is, we are not able to attend this meeting this evening, but we wanted to vote in favor of the annexation. That was Paul and Donna Clevenger. And this next one is from Natalie Patterson. Hello, I was told to email my thoughts about the annexation here since I am unable to be present at the meeting tonight. I am for the annexation. Here's my thoughts. They are a bit rough due to the short amount of time I've had to put them down. If you aren't going to live in the addition, why do you care about the lot sizes? These lot sizes are based upon studies done to conclude what buyers are looking for in a home. This means smaller yards to maintain larger homes to inhibit roof habit and high-end materials in those homes. Number 2, lot sizes proposed are larger than the majority of existing homes in Dayton. Point 3, higher price tag does not directly equal larger home.
In this instance, the proposed homes are on average 27,000 square foot home, or 2,700 square foot homes. The increase in price reflects the choice of premium materials used in these homes. Number 4, the 102 homes will not be built all at one time, so the influx of population will be slow and steady. Number 5, 110 homes does not make Dayton metropolis, let alone a suburb of Lafayette. Did anyone realize Dayton is considered a suburb of Lafayette already, as we receive Lafayette funds to much of the functions of the town? Mulberry is a small town and roughly 5 times the size of Dayton. They have 5 new subdivisions put in the past 7 years. It has led to steady growth, not overcrowding. I have 2 lots that my home sit on. The house is smaller than the proposed lot for subdivision. I have a 2,200 square foot home, and my home is in no way arm's reach of any of my neighbors. Dayton Elementary is only 81% capacity. 110 homes does not equate to 110 elementary age children. 15 homes a year might add roughly 10 elementary school kids at a time. More students need more funding for the school. What a local family does with their land is their business. So as long as it does not cause harm to others, the sellers have been here for generations and have been active supporters of Dayton. They want to continue that by helping it grow. Dayton is slowly waning. Businesses don't stay local, and those businesses that are here provide the majority of their services to customers outside of the community. More homes draws more people, more draws local business. That's the sum of it. My main question is why Culver is so interested in the land. They have been turned down several times by the developers. Is this a true pro-Dayton stance? If so, why not let their tenants decide if they want all the signage on the properties they are renting? I know Dexter Limited doesn't have the same view as the signage on their lot that was signed down in the steel. One more, and this is from the honest Snyder. I apologize for not being at the public hearing tonight, but I am attending my niece's graduation. Even though I am not able to attend, I would like to have my voice heard. There has been fear-mongering and exaggeration by those who are opposed to the annexation. The signs that have appeared and disappeared on Dayton Road represent the facts. As the debate has continued and Councilman Culver has been held accountable for misinformation on his property, he has changed the signage multiple times. Originally, he seemed to be proposing a rural estate zoning, which is not possible on this property. He also claimed for many weeks that R1 is high-density housing, when the Tippecanoe County zoning ordinance clearly defines R1 as low-density housing. In fact, R1 is the lowest density zoning defined in the county ordinance that is allowed on this property. He also keeps changing the number of lots and lot sizes that he can fit on his property on Dayton Road. When doing his calculations, he evidently has forgotten that a subdivision would require roads, minimum setbacks, easements, and on this particular piece of property, a cul-de-sac. The placement of the signs is also meant to deceive. He has packed the signs as close to Dayton Road as possible and claims that each lot is 14,000 square feet or 15,000 square feet or whatever he is claiming this week. In reality, when the area around the signs is measured, lots that are numbered 1 through 6 are actually only 5,040 square feet each. In the space where he has placed the signs for the lots numbered 1 through 6, only 2 15,000 foot lots wouldn't actually fit. I've also been offended by Councilman Fuller's slanderous comments that he has made about his fellow council members, attorneys, developers, and the firm that completed the fiscal study. Anyone who opposes him has to be on the tape. Now for the reason I'm in favor of the annexation. Houses between 250,000 and 400,000 will bring upper middle class families to our town. They will be valuable additions to the community. Lots are larger than most of the lots current in Dayton. Most lots in Dayton are currently between 8,000 and 12,000 square feet. The subdivision will bring moderate growth of about 15 houses per year to Dayton. Since these houses are a bit more expensive than most homes in Dayton, it will serve to raise the property values of nearby homes. The subdivision will bring more customers to our utilities. This will help defray the portion of our bill that will go towards administrative costs. It will not lower our rates, but it could delay until the next time the next rate increase will happen. Revenue in the town's street fund will increase by about $7,000 per year. Property taxes in Dayton will decrease and the town's revenue will increase. If the CCD rate is increased to 5%, property taxes will decrease by about $24 per $100,000 assessed value. I believe that the benefits that this annexation offers the town of Dayton are many, since inflamed language and exaggeration are opinion and not evidence. The opposition has not produced any real evidence